Hey there, good morning. Welcome to Coffee with Connie. I'm Connie Fuksa. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. If you're on the East Coast, what the heck is that bright thing in the sky that we are all seeing this morning? Cannot believe after, I don't even know how many days of rain, we actually have a little bit of sun coming out. So this really energizes. I know I've talked to so many people this week that have just said, I feel so tired, I can't get out of bed, I can't get motivated. So thank goodness that we have that beautiful thing shining out there that's getting us all going today. And I hope you guys are having a fantastic start to your Thursday. I really look forward to coming to you a couple times a week to tell you about things that have to do with real estate and home ownership. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about who actually owns a piece of property and how is it designated? How do I know what to do about it? How do I know who owns my property? And this may sound like a really simple question, but it really matters how the ownership is structured so that you can make sure that you're taken care of in the event that something happens to one of the owners. Hey there, Angela. Good morning. How are you today? Thank you guys so much for taking the time to tune in, but not only to tune in, to reach out and let me know that you're on. I really appreciate it. Hey there, Cecilia. Good morning. Welcome. Thanks so much for tuning in. So I really wanted to talk about this for a lot of reasons. There's many different types of ownership that can happen with your property. And today, I just want to run through a couple things real quick and some scenarios. But let's say you own a piece of property by yourself and no one else has an ownership interest. Well, hello there. Good morning, my sweet husband. How are you today? So if you own a piece of property all by yourself, what happens when you pass away? What happens to your property? Well, because no one else is on the ownership of that property listed on that deed that gives the ownership, then what's going to happen is that property is going to go into your estate if something happens to you, and then your estate will determine how that property is disseminated, that real property, that home that you own. If you own a piece of property with someone else or several people, there's different ways that you can own it. And one is called tenants by the entirety, and that's for a married couple who owns a piece of property together. If something happens to one of them, the other one automatically owns the property by themselves. No one else has an ownership interest. Nothing can happen, and no one can intervene in their interest. If it's a couple of people that own a piece of property together or just two and they're not married, there's two options. One's called tenants in common and one's called joint tenants. The difference between these two is very important. Tenants in common, everybody who owns the property owns a divided interest. What does that mean? Let's say there's two people. Those two people can own that property 50-50, 30-70, whatever that division is. There's no exact measurement of that. It's not divided equally. It's however it's agreed to and it's stated in the deed. The other thing about tenants in common is if two people own that piece of property as tenants in common and something happens to one of them, that person's interest goes into their estate. It does not automatically transfer to the other owner. A lot of people use that type of ownership for when they're buying a piece of property with a friend, a relative, someone that is not their immediate family, that they expect that property to go directly to them. So maybe you're buying it with your best friend. Maybe you have college roommates, you're buying a townhouse together after you get out of college. You know, you guys are best friends, but if something happens to one of you, that interest would go to the family of the person that passed. The other thing about tenants in common is if someone files a lien against you, and you know, that seems like, oh, it'll never happen to me. But let's say, for example, you're in a car accident and you injured someone and a lien is filed against, or a judgment is filed against you. If you own that property as tenants in common, then that, interest is going to have a lien against it. So when you go to sell that property is going to have a lien against it. Hey there, Miss Lori. How are you this morning? Thank you for tuning in. Hey, Miss Karen. Thank you so much for reaching out and saying hey. So tenants in common means that everybody owns a divided interest, and their interest can be sold, it can be mortgaged, it can be liened against, a home equity line can be placed against just that interest, but it does affect the ownership in the respect that when the property is sold, everyone has to sign off on it as they would, but any of those things that are attached to the property, a lien that was filed, a judgment, a mortgage, an ownership those would all affect that ownership when that property is sold And a person, when you own as tenants in common, one of those people can sell their interest without it affecting the other people except for who they own it with. So tenants in common is a divided interest. Think of a pie where you cut it all up and everybody has their piece of that pie, whatever size it is, and they can do whatever they want with that piece of the pie. And the other people who have ownership of the other pieces of the pie, they have their pieces that they own as well. The other, as I mentioned, the other ownership for more than one person that is not married is called joint tenants. And joint tenants acts very much like the married couple scenario. Two or more people own that property. No judgments or liens can intervene because those people own that property 100%, every one of them. So if I own it with Lori and I own it as joint tenants, I can't sell my piece without Lori because she and I both own 100%. I can't mortgage my piece without her signing off because we both own 100%. The other thing is somebody cannot place a lien or a judgment against that property if they're only filing it against one of those owners because each of those owners own 100% and they would all have to be involved. The other side of it is when they sell the property, they all have to sell 100%. Finally, about joint tenants, if one of those people passes away, that property automatically goes to the other owner or owners without having to go through an estate process. So depending on your scenario, depending on your life, depending on your situation, all of these are very relevant ways to own the property, but it's really important to have the conversation because specifically if you purchased a piece of property and with your now spouse, but you weren't married at the time, there may be something you need to look at about that. So we're certainly able to help you talk through that. It's also some good information on our website about it, on our Foot Title Group website, and on my Connie Fuksa website about ownership. And so you can go down and go on there and download some information and get some of these good tools and resources to find out more about that. But at any time, you can always reach out to me or anyone on our team, www.footetitlegroup.com, or you can go to my Connie Fuksa site and reach out to me directly, Connie Fuksa, Fuksa.com, or you can message me right here through Facebook. Hopefully I helped you guys with some information maybe you didn't know, or maybe you knew a little bit and didn't have enough information, or maybe you wanted to get some more information about it. If you would, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that share button below, because that means that the people that you know might need this information as well, and then they'll get it because you're sharing it with them. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I look forward to talking to you many times during the week. And if you have a topic you want me to talk about, please reach out and let me know. Thanks so much for taking your time to tune in to Coffee with Connie. I'm Connie Fuksa. Have a fantastic day, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.